welcome back. Today we want to talk to you about what it takes to grow your farm into a profitable business. And we're going to share some of the things that we've learned, some mistakes we've made, some things we've done right over the last year, starting a farm business, and really making sure that you turn your passion into an actual business. So we'll talk to you about some of the things that we've learned. So let's dive in.
Number one is to be very clear on where your market is and the type of products that you can grow, because homesteading is awesome and you can really grow anything that you enjoy. But to be able to sell the food, you have to grow what people enjoy as well. And it's going to be difficult if you want to try to create a market to grow people's desires for your particular crop that you're growing, maybe that you like, but there's not a big market for it. So go to the farmer's market, see what's there in the beginning, and then see what's there in the end, and then you'll be able to tell how much of that produce is purchased each farmer's market. Another key is to be able to see what isn't there in the beginning. And I think that's a good way to figure out your niche, because if you can grow particular crops, if you're located in a microclimate area like we are, that nobody else is growing, it'll give you the front end of being able to bring crops that nobody else is bringing, and then you have no competition. And that's where we thrive too, is being able to grow our market, particularly through potatoes and onions and mushrooms, because we're really the only competitors, with some smaller end people who do it as a side crop but not as their main crops. And that gives us the possibility now to increase our production on potatoes and onions 4, 5, 6-fold this coming year, because we've started small. We found that there's a big desire for it and a big demand, and now we can continue increasing that. So don't start big if you're starting with a niche crop, but figure out if that's going to be able to be sold at the farmer's market or restaurants, and if it can, then continue to grow it through people's demands.
So really our first step was doing a lot of online research and doing our due diligence, looking at not only our specific area, but also just doing research in general for what crops that we knew were going to be more profitable than others. There's just really simple research you can do for your climate, for your location, where you are in the world, that really helped us out in the beginning. And we're glad that we did that due diligence in the beginning to do that research. And then, of course, going in person and doing your research to the local markets, your grocery stores and restaurants.
Number two would be how to create your farm into an approach that makes sense for labor costs and for all of your other material costs. And those come with the right tools and the right ergonomics in your approach to your small scale market gardening methods.
Let's talk about some of the tools that we use on a daily basis.
Yeah, the first one that is key for us is going to be the greens harvester. The greens harvester is our biggest tool that allows us to increase our production 15-fold in the same amount of time, and that's been a key component for our farm. The other thing is a type of machine that's going to cultivate the ground. You don't want to cultivate everything by hand, or else you're going to not be able to make very much money. And the BCS tiller is something that we've upgraded this coming spring, and it's got a lot of attachments. It's got the power harrow, it's got the flail mower, it's got the rotary plow for digging trenches and our walkways, it's got potato diggers and root diggers, and this gives us the capability of increasing our production 4 and 5 times instead of doing everything by hand. And that's going to be a key component if you really want to start increasing your production, to find a machine that is going to be consistent, it's going to be a high quality, and it's going to decrease your labor costs. And do the mathematics in how much it's going to decrease your labor costs, so you can figure out how much you can invest and where you're going to be able to meet that investment later down the road, whether it's 6 months or a year or 2 years, and that'll allow you to get a better viewpoint on how much money that you need to invest and when you can pay back those loans if you do take out loans. The third thing that we are using is going to be more applicable to us in the springtime is a paper pot transplanter. It gives us 3 weeks lead time to seed everything into paper pot and then to transplant 3 weeks later. So that way we get crops quicker in our beds instead of seeding everything into our beds. And the beauty about that is the paper pot transplanter actually decreases our labor time maybe 20-fold, because we can plant 264 cells in straight rows in about 3 minutes instead of maybe close to an hour for one normal person to do. 45 minutes as well, just depending on how fast you're going. But That also allows us to have straight rows, and straight rows allows for better weeding and using those particular tools that helps with weeding. So that way we're making everything on a farm a much more ergonomic approach instead of us making everything a little bit more difficult for ourselves by having to weave in and out of transplants that aren't planted straight.
Next, we want to talk about admin and the back end side of the business, because any business needs to have that in place to make sure that things are running properly, that you have good organization. And when I came on board to support the business, it was really clear that we needed to put certain things in place to make sure that our lives, because we're in a relationship and a partnership, that we don't get on each other's nerves, and make sure that we have no communication issues, which will still happen, but mitigating those things and just basic business practices that are really essential, like bookkeeping and things like that. So areas that we're learning to grow into a little bit better are the bookkeeping aspects and upgrading the entire business into something called QuickBooks. So that's a work in progress. We've been using a lot of Excel sheets to look at projections for the coming year, for what we've already done this year, and really making sure that you track all of your receipts for all of the business expenses. I know this stuff sounds basic, but a lot of people miss out on these things, and everything that you put into the business is a write-off. So just really making sure that you're on top of it on a weekly, a monthly basis. Another thing is creating a game plan at the beginning of the week. So we have a Monday morning 7 a.m. meeting, which is always a little early for me. But we get up and we map out the whole entire week. So looking at all the things that need to get done, both on my end, both on Michael's end, and then for the people that we have as independent contractors, thinking about what they need to do throughout the week, on which days they're going to do them, and then as well as going through the list of all the errands that need to be run, which I'm typically doing on the days that I'm doing deliveries. So mapping out the delivery schedule, mapping out getting back to clients, the accounts, the restaurant accounts, the chefs that need to have orders fulfilled. So just making sure that you're doing everything in a timely way so that you're not stressed and you're not out there in the field, mainly for Michael to not be thinking about these things as he's out there farming, because there's a lot of back-end logistics, a lot of errands. There's always something to go gather to bring back to the farm. So those are some things that we are always learning and getting better at, and that we've implemented thus far.
I think the difference between what sets apart someone who's farming as a hobby and someone who's farming as a business is the attention to detail. And when we started, that became a key component in what's going to grow our business and what's going to make us successful, is every little detail. And that specifically comes back to the books too, and seeing where margins are at. Because if we are growing a particular crop where our margins are really small, that's okay if we also have other crops that's going to allow our margins to be met, and maybe we're just wanting a little bit of diversity. But if almost 80% of our crops have small margins and we're really not making any progress in being able to save up any money to continue to grow our business, at least to the point that we want it to get to, then we're not going to be very successful in being able to evolve and meet the demands of ourselves and our customers. And that's the key, is focus on those 80% of the crops that are bringing in most of the money. A lot of times it's that 20-80 rule where 20% of the crops is bringing in 80% of the money, and the 80% of the crops is bringing in 20%. So switch that around, where 80% of your crops is bringing in 80% of your income, and the other 20% is simply just for more variety or diversity in your farm. And that's where we focus on. We grow a lot of variety, but we do focus on about 4 crops. And that gives us the capability of having diversity, but at the same time being able to grow our business, meet our demands of our customers, and continuing to make enough profit where we have a good quality of life and we can grow the business to the point where we're at now, which is moving into a new plot of land, investing time, investing more money, and that gives us the capability of seeing it as a business. And when we see it as a business, then we have consistent schedules, and that's also a big thing in the admin. Is if you want a consistent product for your accounts or for the market, you got to have a consistent schedule. And it doesn't have to be every single day of every week, but it has to be every week, whether it's a planting every week or a couple days that are being harvested every week, or one day that's always having errands done or deliveries done. But if we're all over the place, then it's not going to give the business the capability of having a consistency that the customer or the accounts can count on. And that's been big for us, is consistency to allow our business to grow and evolve in an organic way.
And that kind of ties into our next category, which is marketing. And on that note of the consistency thing, we've been really relationship based when we've been growing the business. So a lot of our marketing per se hasn't been as much more typical marketing that you'd think of, but it's really building relationships and building trust with people. So a lot of the restaurant accounts we've built and the relationships with the chefs, it's going in and providing a sample of a product that we really feel good about and want to bring that in. And from there, just building the relationships that they can count on us to bring in a consistent product and on the same days that we say that we're going to show up. And so it's really about just showing up and being in integrity and making sure that you are following through with your word, because, you know, we live on a small island, so the relationships are just so important, and that's one thing that we've really focused on to make this business run. So we also have our Instagram page and our Facebook page, as well as the YouTube channel. We have gained some clients and accounts through our Instagram page and just interacting with the community. So I typically attempt to reach a local audience since we live here on Maui. And then, of course, with the YouTube channel, we're also reaching more of a global audience because we're wanting to spread the word, not just to our community here, but eventually, you know, we want to be teaching and sharing on a bigger level. So the marketing piece in the beginning, it's less about what you might think as a traditional marketing thing of making flyers and all these kinds of things. It's really about building relationships, showing up, showing your face in places that you want to sell your product. For us too, we have 2 days a week that we do the farmers markets. And so really making sure, there's only been a handful of times we've missed out on the days for the farmers markets. We've really been consistent with showing up on Wednesdays and Saturdays at the different locations and just building relationships and trust with the community. And things like our oyster mushrooms, which a lot of people have never even tasted oyster mushrooms. And once people started to have them and taste them, and sometimes we even give away stuff for free and coming back and they instantly want more. So it's about building relationships and having a nice presence too. We have a beautiful banner that we have for our farmers markets days. We use tablecloths. We have a nice little setup situation. So it's about presentation. It's about building relationships in the beginning.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add for the marketing?
So another big thing when it comes to selling to these restaurants is bring your produce in and give it to them for free. Do not try to sell it to them right away, because it's gonna probably push away a lot of restaurants because they've never seen you, they don't have a relationship with you yet. But giving them something for free, everybody's gonna take something for free for the most part, and give them enough where they can work with it for that night and actually make a little money off of it. Don't give them just a couple pounds of beets. Give them 15 pounds of beets or 20 pounds of beets, something where they can make a special dish from it, and that way they can see how customers like it, they can get feedback, and then you can get feedback. A big thing that has helped us too is making sure that when we bring in a particular product that we have that consistency to meet their demand. We're not bringing in a product where we're only growing it once or twice a year and it's not available all throughout the year. We want to grow something and show up to the restaurants with a product that's always going to be there for them, and that way they can rely on us.
All right, you guys, so that sums it up for today. We could talk for quite a bit of time about all these areas, but if you have questions or comments, we'd love to see those below. If you wanted to hear more about a particular topic, we're happy to make a video solely on that topic. Please subscribe to our channel. If you enjoyed this video, if you got something out of it, please share it with a friend who might be starting a farm business. We'd love for them to stay tuned. Really, our intention with these videos is just to help and support you, because we're still learning and growing our business, and we want to share our mistakes, our wins, so that you can be successful too and thrive. with your business. So
Definitely. And we'll put in the link below all of the tools that we use to help our farm in an ergonomic approach to a business.
thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.